Welcome back, everyone. Today we'll be taking a deep dive into a game you might think you know pretty well.
Oh, really? What's that?
Well, it's called Race to 20, the card game.
I see where you're going with this. Sounds simple enough. Two players, add up the numbers on their cards. First 1 to 20 wins. Right.
Right. But we'll be going deeper using the Open Educational Resources Open Source Physics at Singapore website as our guide.
Okay, I'm intrigued. It's not every day you see physics and card games together. What's so special about this race to 20?
Well, according to the website, there's actually a hidden strategy to basically guarantee you win every time.
Every time. No way. I mean, doesn't it depend on what cards you draw?
Of course, luck plays a part, but having a solid strategy is key. The website even talks about how you can change the game up a bit to make it more challenging.
How so?
You can change the target number, like maybe race to 30, or even limit the cards to only even or odd numbers.
That would definitely make things more interesting. But let's go back to that winning strategy you mentioned.
Let's say we're playing the basic version, and the biggest card is 11.
Okay, I'm following.
Now, the website says the trick is to aim for the number 8,
8. Why 8?
because it puts you in the perfect position to win. Think about it. The most your opponent can add is 11, right?
Right.
So if you're at 8 and they add 11, that puts them at 19.
I see. And then on your next turn, boom, you hit 20 and win.
Exactly. And the site also gives another example. Let's say the biggest card is 5. In that case, you want to hit these numbers.
Yeah.
2, then 8, 14, and finally 20.
So it's like a pattern.
It is. The idea is to work backward from 20, figuring out what numbers your opponent could potentially play. The website actually uses a term for it, maximum jump.
Maximum jump. That makes sense. You're anticipating how much they can add and then working back to control the game.
Exactly. You're basically forcing them into a corner.
You're not just trying to reach 20, you're strategically blocking your opponent from winning.
It's like a game of chess, almost.
Yeah.
Every move has consequences down the line.
That's a great comparison. And to explain this, the website even uses formulas to show the math behind it.
Formulas. I'm all ears. Let's dive into those next. Okay, formulas. You've piqued my curiosity. Lay it on me. What kind of formulas are we talking about here?
Well, the website shows these formulas to really explain the math behind the whole winning strategy. For example, there's one that shows how to calculate something called the safe zone. You know, those numbers you want to aim for?
Like that magic number 8 we talked about?
Exactly. So using these formulas, you could actually, predict the numbers that would guarantee you win,
Wow, no way. So you're saying it's not just intuition or guesswork, there's actual math behind it.
Right. But of course, there's a catch. These formulas assume that, your opponent is kind of playing randomly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If they figure out what you're doing, they might try to mess up your plan.
Ah, so it becomes a bit of a mind game. You're not only doing the math, but also trying to predict what they'll do.
Exactly. You got to be thinking ahead, anticipating how they might react, and then maybe adjusting your strategy.
Okay, so even if they catch on, at least you've got a solid foundation with these formulas.
Yeah, you're not just blindly following some rules. You understand the logic behind them so you can adapt and be more flexible.
This is getting me really excited to play now. But hold on, remember those variations we talked about earlier, like changing the target number or using only odd or even cards?
Ah, yeah.
I'm curious, would these formulas still work if we change the rules like that?
That's a great question. They would need some tweaking, for sure.
Okay, how so?
If you change the target number, you got to recalculate that safe zone, right?
Makes sense.
And if you use only odd or even cards, well, that changes how much your opponent can add, that maximum jump, remember?
So it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. You have to be adaptable, adjust the formulas depending on how you're playing.
Yeah, exactly. Think of it like having different tools in your toolbox. You got to know which one to use and how to use it, right?
Man, I'm realizing this goes way beyond just winning a simple card game. It's like using math in the real world, seeing how it works.
Totally. Math isn't just some abstract thing. It's a tool to understand stuff and even kind of manipulate things around us.
It makes me think about that what-if scenario we were tossing around before. What if, instead of just adding, we could subtract in Race to 20?
Subtract.
Would that completely mess up these formulas?
Oh, it would definitely shake things up. I mean, you wouldn't be just working backward from 20 anymore, right? You'd have to think about moving forward and backward.
Yeah.
And that maximum jump idea, that becomes even more important because now you got to consider how far back your opponent could send you.
Yeah.
It'd be like a whole new ball game.
Right. You'd have to really change up your strategy.
For sure. It wouldn't just be about getting as close to 20 as possible.
It'd be more about, like, Positioning yourself.
Exactly. You'd have to be thinking offensively and defensively at the same time.
Kind of like what we were talking about before with those variations on the game.
Right. Changing the target number or only using odd or even cards.
Yeah. It seems like any little change to the rules really makes you think differently.
It does. And it actually highlights something really important from our deep dive today.
What's that?
Well, it's great to understand the math behind the basic strategy,
Right.
but being able to use that knowledge in different ways is super important too.
So you're saying it's not enough to just memorize a formula?
Exactly. You got to grasp those underlying principles, be able to adapt, improvise when the rules change.
Become a strategic thinker.
Yes. And that's what makes exploring a game like Race to 20 so valuable.
It's not just about winning.
No, it's about learning how to analyze and adapt and strategize.
Wow, I like that.
It's like this card game is a mini version of problem solving in general.
It is. You learn the basic rules and then got to get creative to handle those new challenges.
That's such a good point. And honestly, it applies to way more than just games.
Oh, totally. Like
Yeah.
at work or even just dealing with stuff in your personal life, right?
Exactly. You need that strategic thinking everywhere.
So if we had to leave our listeners with one final thought from today,
One key takeaway.
yeah, what would it be?
Don't underestimate simple systems.
Like a card game.
Yeah, like Race to 20.
What do you mean?
Well, they can reveal a lot about math and strategy.
Let's see what you're saying.
It might seem like child's play on the surface, but there's a lot of depth there.
It's true. Well said.
Thanks.
Well, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into Race to 20. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
Remember, there's always something new to learn and explore. Keep those minds sharp, and we'll see you next time.